Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this night session on MIAD 816, which is titled Human Rights and Security. In our previous session, we discussed about um, natural rights and human rights and the evolution of human rights and how we come about the human rights. We also talk about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948, and today we want to look at one core principle in human rights. That is the core principles in human rights. We discussed the core principle of in human rights in our last class, but we did not explain it extensively. We just list them. But now we want to discuss about the core principle in human rights, and we are going to look at the challenges and also contemporary example or critics that goes along with this. What we need to know is that the fundamental human right, or let me say the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations, is a framework that stipulates all the human rights of human being living in on this earth surface. So, however, we say these human rights, there are some of them that are core principles. Where the human rights are there. We have some core principles of human rights. For my slide, you can see. For my slide, you can see universality, which is number one core human right. We have inalienability, which is the second core human right, while the third one is indivisibility. You understand? These core human rights, we are going to explain them one after the other for you to understand what we mean by this core principle. And then we are going to say the challenges, because sometimes you say you have your rights, and sometimes you see that the government is violating your rights in one way or the other. Understand? So, how are they violating the rights? If we are saying that right is universality, is indivisibility or inalienability, but how are they violating that right? Yes and no. So now the the core principle of human rights, you understand, we have universality, inalienability, and indivisibility, as I mentioned. So when you say universality, you can see it in my screen here. When you say universality, you are making reference that human rights apply to all people, irrespective of your culture, your religion, your nationality, political system, gender or status. You understand? Irrespective of who you are, human right is applied to everyone. Understand? So all human beings everywhere have human rights. That is why we say number one core principle of human rights is universality. Universe. Universe is the world, right? So universality, that is, it is applicable to all human beings everywhere, irrespective of culture, religion, nationality, political system, gender, and social status. Listen, because it is inherent. It's like an heritage. It's like you get it because you are a human being. Listen. So the modern human rights system insists that rights are not granted by the government. That is, it's not the government that give us the right. Listen, they are inherent, like it's an heritage. You get it because you exist. Because of your existence as a human being, you automatically get that universality of human right. Understand? So this position was this universality of human rights or other core principle of human rights, they were adopted in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. So it declared that all human rights are born free and equal in dignity and right. You say that all human rights are born free, you understand, and equal. We are born free and equal. We are all equal in dignity and right. That is in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. So when we say universality, we are saying that it asserts that moral principle or moral standard transcend border. That is the moral belief of people, okay, that we are all equal. It goes beyond border. That means it goes beyond all the countries, all the states in the world. Yes, sir. That is universality of human rights. But on the other hand, we have the inalienability as a core principle of human rights. Understand? Inalienability as a core principle of human rights. So, which means that when we say inalienability of human rights, what we mean that human rights cannot be surrendered or taken away either illegally or legitimately. Understand that? That is, human rights cannot be surrendered, it cannot be transferred, and cannot be legitimately taken away. Which means that if you have your human right, you cannot transfer it to another person. Legitimately, the government can also take away your right. And also, you cannot surrender your right to people. You know, when police catch you, say surrender yourself. Understand? Normally, if you know your right, you ask them under which warrant. Understand? So under which warrant do you want me to surrender myself? Because it's like you are violating my fundamental human rights. Or listen, we want to search you. Under which motive? If they tell you the motive is reasonable, you let them search you. So human right, you cannot surrender your. When you say inalienability of human right, which we are meaning, what we mean is that human right cannot be surrendered, cannot be transferred, cannot be legitimately taken away. Understand? That is, they are inseparable from human being. If you are human, your human right is on you like your skin. It cannot be removed. That is inalienability of human rights. Even when you commit crime, or you lose citizenship, or you became stateless, or when there is problem, let me say you have problem, understand, your right cannot be surrendered, cannot be transferred, or cannot be legitimately taken away. That is why sometimes when they catch criminal, and you will see the criminal will tell them that I will not talk without seeing my lawyer, and he is on his right, because his right is nobody can force him to do what he didn't want to do. So if the criminal say, I will not talk without seeing my lawyer, they will make sure that they provide him a lawyer before he speak. Although in Africa, sometimes they do violate it, police will just slap you many times. You will start speaking without waiting for them. But in a working system, even if you commit crime, listen, even if you don't have a state, so far as you are a human being, or even if you lost your citizenship, listen, so far you are a human being, the right cannot be taken away, cannot be surrendered, or cannot be transferred. Listen, so however, we shall see this principle, how it become complicated. That is why we say we are going to discuss about the challenges of all these core principles, all these three core principles. Listen now, because all these core principles also have some restriction. Listen, especially during emergency period. Understand? They have some restriction during some emergency period. Understand now? So that is about inalienability of human rights. Now, when we say indivisibility of human rights, indivisibility of human rights. So what we mean by indivisibility of human rights is that it means that either civil right and political right, economic right, social right, collective right, and development right are equally important and interdependent. They are equally important and interdependent, which means that it cannot be divided. You cannot divide this one that, okay, this right, they are the one that are important. This one, they are less important. No, all of them, they are equally important and interdependent. Because the denial of one category of human rights undermine the other category. If you deny one category, you deny one human right, it will automatically affect another right. Let me give you an example now. We say freedom of speech is human right? But do you know that freedom of speech will become meaningless without education? Freedom of speech become meaningless without education. That is why you see that in some society, the people cannot challenge the leader. They believe that anything the leader say, it's right. It happened in Nigeria. You see that the people cannot challenge their leader because they believe that anything the leader say, it's right, because the leader also are depriving them of their education, because if they expose them to education, they are going to challenge them. So what we are saying that indivisibility, that they are taking away education so that these people are not going to have freedom of speech, which is wrong. Listen, it is wrong. Another example is that, you see, political participation, right to vote and be voted for, it weakens when there is economic instability. There is no money in the country. People are hungry. Look at the politicians. They will make life difficult for the people, for Nigerians. Maybe 4 months or 5 months to the election. And once election comes in, they will not start distributing rice, because they know that they've made economic hardship a norms. So when you make economic hardship a norm, you make economic instability, like you make it a difficult to people, then political participation is going to be affected. Why? Political participation is also human right of people. Right to social amenities, right to do business, right to is all these rights. They are fundamental human rights. But when one is affected, automatically it is going to affect the other right. That is why we say indivisibility, all rights, either civil right, political right, economic right, social right, collective right, development right, all these rights, they work interchangeably, they work interdependently, and they are all equal. Yes, sir. So all these rights we've mentioned, understand, all these core principles we've mentioned, they are what we want to analyze today. Listen, they are what we want to analyze today, and want to look at the challenges each of these rights have, each of these core principles have, rather. Am I communicating, please? Let me know if I'm communicating. If you don't understand, just let me know. We are here to learn.
Sorry, this core
Somebody should
principle.
talk.
Good evening.
Don't
Is Judith. Is Judith. The core woman right principle. I don't know. Are they 3 or 4?
Now, the core principle, there are 3, but we have 6 principles in general. Understand now? So you can watch my how do you call the other slide? You can watch the other slide, the other video. You see the principles there. We've mentioned it there. Understand now? But the how do you call the comes? So those one that come first before that one comes. So they are the 3. Yes, sir. So, but in essence, in practice, there are 6. Practice, there are 6. Yes, sir. Now, thank you for your question. So proceed to the next one. So I've explained that when you say when we say universality of human rights, we are making reference to that human rights become is applicable to everyone. It's applicable to everyone, everywhere. Religion, nationality, gender, or social status. They are inherent right that you acquire because you are living on the earth surface as human, not as a species, not as extraterrestrial. So far you are living as human being, you have this right. I'm not sure if my network is good. Just let me know if my network is good or bad, please. Hope the call is not breaking.
The network is good. No, it's not breaking.
It's good. Okay. Okay.
The
Thank you
network
very
is
much.
okay.
Thank you very much. So, in essence, the universality where we are saying that you take the name university, where we do many courses, right? Universe, the globe that has many human beings. So, we have say universality. So, universality, that is this right we are talking about, this human right we are talking about, it is applicable to everyone on the globe, irrespective of culture, religion, nationality, gender, or social status. And it is adopted in the in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. Yes, and so I will take it again to the other part to discuss it, but I will take it to the other part. Now, okay, I missed this slide. Okay, don't worry. I will universally. I missed this slide. Don't worry. Now, in my slide, what am I having here? I didn't play. I misplaced the slide. I misplaced this. Okay, no worry. We just take what we have here. Challenges of inalienability. Challenges of inalienability. Yes, and what do we call inalienability? For my previous explanation, what do we say is inalienability? What do we say inalienability? Core principle of
We
we say inalienability.
we can see the
Okay,
universality.
the
I think it's
human
in
right.
page 3.
What do you say? What do you say here?
We can see the universality is in page 3. We were looking at it
I'm in
before
page
you
4 now.
checked.
Can you see page 4?
Yes, now it's page 4, but before now, the page 3 has universality.
Can you see page 4?
Yes.
Okay. Page 4. Now, I
But
was
before we
asking
came to
that
page 4, we put
inalienability as a core principle. So I was saying inalienability as a core principle of human right. What do we mean by that? From my previous explanation, somebody should say it.
Okay, good evening.
Good
Okay,
evening.
what I understood by what you said, um, inability is human rights that cannot be surrendered. You are naturally endowed. It's just like it's being given to you by God. It cannot be taken away from you. It remains your own. It's attached to you as an individual.
Thank you very much. So it is attached to you as an individual. It cannot be surrendered, it cannot be transferred, nor taken away legitimately. You understand now? But this inalienability as a core principle of human rights has challenges. Sometimes it can be surrendered or taken away or be transferred depending on circumstances. And the first one is that emergency. So during emergency, the first one is during emergency. I don't know why this slide is just. Oh, don't worry. During emergency, Yeah, this is what I want to show you. I don't know why I didn't. During emergency, understand? During emergency, inalienability of human rights can be challenged during emergency. Understand now? So emergency power or derogation. Now, sorry, I just pressed something now. My slide just moved. Emergency, human rights can be taken. Understand now? So, number one, let me explain this emergency to you. It limits human rights during war, terrorism, crisis. Which for terrorism, national crisis I mentioned, states usually limit human rights of people. Let me give you an example. Coffee. Understand? Coffee. CURFEWS. Coffee. You understand now? That is, the government can announce that you should not go out between this time and this time when there is crisis, maybe during war. Understand? Maybe those people in the north might witness it, whereby they will just tell them that don't go out between this time and this time. Understand? So during that time, they limit the freedom of movement. You understand? Freedom of movement is human right. But because of either terrorism or war or national crisis or public emergencies, they limit the movement of people. You understand? So they do so to protect the people. Now, if they say, okay, stay at home, and you decide to go outside, anything that happened to you, that means you cause it to yourself. Understand? So that is an example of during emergency. Another one is that detention without trial may suspend during process rights. Sometimes they can detain. You can see that if they detain somebody without trial, understand, they may suspend, or they can suspend it due to process rights. Sometimes they just need you to they just need to detain you just like that, because if they don't detain you, they might not do the right thing. So it happens sometimes that they can detain some people, although they might release it on the note that they are violating the person's right because they are detaining him without a right, without trial. But they need to pass through that stage before they proceed to the trial level. Listen. So, in essence, in international law, the international law allows certain rights to be temporarily restricted. Certain rights can be temporarily restricted under strict condition. In international law, it allows certain rights to be temporarily. We are not saying that it is permanently restricted. We are saying that it is temporarily restricted under strict condition. That's one. I'll give an example again. There is something we call surveillance law. Surveillance law is that surveillance law may restrict privacy. You can see the case of I don't want to say this person. There is one politician in Nigeria like this that say that he tapped somebody's phone and he's listening to their call. That's one. So now there is something there is a process that is going on with that same politician in whereby his privacy also is being restricted. Listen, so politicians or leaders of a country, when they see you as a danger, they can also put surveillance to you. That is, they will be monitoring your movement, when you visit, when they see you as a menace, when you see you as a danger to the country. Understand? I'm not saying that politician is a danger, but I'm just giving an example of surveillance law can restrict the privacy of human being. That is, you might not have your privacy again when they apply that surveillance law to you. Understand now? So the question we need to ask ourselves now is that if human right can be liability or inalienable can be temporarily restricted or suspended, are they really or truly inalienable? Because we say it is when it is inalienable, it cannot be suspended, it cannot be restricted, it cannot be. But if some condition can make it restricted, then the question now remains: are they truly inalienable? Understand now? Although we have some rights, they are considered non-derogable. Non-derogable. Derogable is Derogable. Non-derogable. Understand? So we have some rights that are non-derogable. So this right, like freedom from torture, that is nobody must torture anyone. Nobody. Or freedom from slavery. Nobody must put another person on slavery. Understand? No, but this one they are non-negotiable. Torture and slavery, they are non-negotiable because they are derogable. How do you call non-derogable rights? But many other rights can be limited or can be temporarily restricted or suspended. You understand? That is one condition where inalienability of human right can be restricted. That is emergency period, right? Now, another one you can say my state number 2, statelessness issue. Understand? Statelessness issue. Statelessness issue. Now, statelessness issue means that individual lack nationality. Understand? So individual lack nationality. You don't have a state. Understand? So some people they are without state. Understand? They are without state. They cannot say whether they are Nigerian or they are Benin Republican, Beninoise or Camerooners. They cannot say. So they lack state. Understand? It happens like that sometimes, but especially most of the time for refugees. Most of the time for refugees. Understand? So refugees, most of the time, they are stateless until they are granted citizenship of the receiving country. So in a state, in a condition that you are stateless or refugee, understand, you will struggle to access rights in practice. Understand, you will struggle to have your fundamental right. Those people that seek for asylums in most European countries, before they get the asylum, they go struggle for it. They will struggle to get that right. Although under the international law, giving asylum to a refugee is still in practice, it's still part of international law. But before you get it, you struggle to get it. Understand? So a philosopher and a philosopher said, his name is Anna. He said that this statelessness issue it brings human being to what we know that the right to have rights. The right to have rights. Let's say that is in Nigeria and somebody run to Benin Republic, and if you get to Benin Republic, he is automatically a refugee due to war. Now, he want to seek asylum in Benin Republic, right? But before you get that asylum in Benin Republic, you go suffer before you get it, because you will pass through some run to Benin Republic, and they will give you they will give you asylum just like that. No, you pass through some. So is your right as a refugee asylum? Understand? But so that is the right to have a right, struggling to get your rights. You understand now? So let me explain something now. Human rights are universally in nature. We say it is inalienability, you understand? But it depends strongly on the political structure for protection. In this context, if you say that some people they run away from Nigeria, they come to Canada, that maybe they are from the northern part of Nigeria and the terrorists are killing them. They want to kill, they don't kill all their family, so they run to Canada. On that notice that terrorists are killing people in the northern part of Nigeria, they want to Canada, they will give them asylum. But before they give them that asylum, it's going to depend on the political structure of that country they are. If Canada now analyze all the story, that okay, this story is good, they are going to give it asylum. But if they analyze it, they might not give them the asylum. That is why some people, the asylum is being rejected. Yes, and so if you don't have nationality or you're a refugee, it becomes very difficult to practice your human rights. Now, the third one is under the inalienability is criminal punishment. See, when individuals are in prison, understand, you can see in the picture in my slide, you can see them, they are in prison. Understand? They automatically lose some liberties, some freedom. They lose it automatically. And one of the freedom they lose is what? Please, can anyone tell me? When someone is being in prison, they lose a freedom. And what is that freedom they lose?
Freedom of movement.
Thank you very much.
Freedom
Freedom
of
of movement. They lose freedom of movement. And we say that freedom of movement is a fundamental human right that cannot be transferred, that cannot be stopped, that cannot be understand. But because they are in prison, they automatically lose freedom of movement. So if they lose freedom of movement, then it raises a question. It raises a question. Listen, does punishment alienate right? That is, when they give punishment, does it cancel people right, or does it restrict the right? Does it cancel? That is, if we give punishment to people, does it cancel the right, or does it merely restrict them within legal boundary? You understand?
It
That is,
merely
if we
restricts.
now take somebody, take him to prison. Thank you very much. It merely restricted under legal boundary. You understand? It merely restricts them. So when they have done with serving their punishment, then they have their right. But while they are serving their punishment, they will still be restricted merely. That's why removal and restriction has been a debate in international law that people in prison, are we removing their right or are we their right? So it brings a debate on under the inalienability, because some people might argue that you are removing the right. Some might argue that you are restricting the right. Listen, so depending on the point of view you are looking at things, you can now conclude whether you are removing the right under punishment or you are restricting under punishment. Am I making sense? Am I communicating, please?
I'm
Just let me
making
know if I'm
sense, but
communicating.
it's breaking. The
Can I
network.
proceed? Can I
Network.
proceed, please? Can I proceed, please? Somebody should.
The network.
Yes, you can. Though the network is breaking a bit.
Thank you very much. That was what I was afraid of. Afraid for. So I will proceed to the next slide. I made a mistake in my slide. I don't know how it ended well like this, but I want to go back to the next one I want to talk about. We've talked about the inalienability. Now, indivisibility. I've already explained indivisibility, right? So, indivisibility in the sense that civil right, either your civil right, political right, economic right, social right, or collective or development right, they are all equal. They cannot be taken away just like that. They are interdependent. If one is taken away, it is going to affect the other one. As I've given an example, I say freedom of speech require access to education. You understand? So today, major problem in the network part of Nigeria, if they give the education adequately to people, you will see how people they are going to challenge the leader. Understand? The educated one are challenging the leader back to back, but there's still more work to do. Even in the south, understand? Some people just believe that if we belong to the same political party, we are okay. We cannot challenge the leader. So education is a problem. If we give education, people are going to see that okay, there are some things they need to voice out, but without education, they cannot voice out because they don't know. They believe that okay, we are okay with anything the leader say. Listen, so anything the malam say. So education to talk about the challenges to the indivisibility. I don't know. A mistake. I make a mistake to just place the slide like this. I don't know. Don't mind me. Okay, indivisibility. Now, indivisibility. So you should know that the all human right are declared indivisible. Understand now? Human rights are declared indivisible. But being declared is indivisible, there are some challenges that can stop some rights. Understand now? So especially the global practice show the hierarchy. The global practice show the hierarchy. So currently you can see they believe that they are above another country and the likes. Now, when I say Cold War division, you can see from my slide Cold War division. So all the picture I put in my slides, they in one way or the other they related to the class. So you can decode it, Berlin West, and there are certain. So now you say Cold War division. You should know that during the Cold War, understand, during the Cold War, Western states they political rights. During the war, they prioritize civil and political rights, those in the West. Understand now? But the socialist states, they emphasize on economic and social rights. Understand? So the West they prioritize civil and political rights, while the socialists they prioritize economic and social rights. You understand? That is during Cold War. So this ideology that okay, these people, this is what they focus on. We will focus on this. This ideology division produce separate international treaties. That is, it produces international law. That it produces different international law and deepen the debate about which right matters most. Understand? So, which means that what we are trying to say is that in terms of war, sometimes some leaders might prioritize a certain kind of right above another right. Listen, I will give the example the Cold War division, because the Cold War division let us know that okay, some people can choose this right as a priority, while some other people can choose this right as a priority. And this ideology gave birth to a separate international treaties, international law that talks about, okay, which right matters most. And the right that matters most is going to depend on the political structure of the country. Understand? So another one, the second one is economic inequality impact. Understand? Economic inequality impact. Now, you see, many developing countries, they argue that poverty, hunger, lack of health care, unemployment, they stand as a great threat to dignity than political freedom. What we are saying is that sometimes when the economy is going down in the country, when there is poverty, hunger, uh, lack of health care, unemployment, it goes against the dignity of human being, which is also part of your right. And so now it goes against the dignity of human being, which is also part of your right. Then political freedom, which means that part of your rights are going to be affected if the economy of your country is being affected. You understand? So if economy is affected, economic inequality, with that economic inequality in the country is going to affect also some part of the right. Some people believe that it's going to affect human dignity than political freedom. Understand now? So that is why in the African Union, understand, the African Union, they tend to work collectively on how to boost the economy of Africa. And so they tend to work collectively on how to boost the economy of Africa, because they believe that economically, if Africa is being challenged economically, there are some fundamental human rights that cannot be protected. Listen, they believe that if Africa economy is challenged, it's going to be difficult to achieve some fundamental human rights. Yes, now. So although regionally that is what prioritize civil and political rights of human being. Listen, now. So in global aspect, they prioritize civil and political rights, but when it comes to regional level, we prioritize the dignity of human being. Listen, so that is about the economic aspect that can affect, that can challenge human rights. You understand now? That is about the indivisibility, which means the indivisibility, it can be also be challenged either through economic inequality or during you understand now? So the third one we have one. What's the third one? We've done two. What we've done two. What's the third one? What's the third one?
You can't see the third one.
I'm asking you the third one. No, I'm not saying the third one of this one. I mean the core value, the core principle. We've talked about two core principle and the challenge. What about the third one?
Universality.
Indivisibility.
We've talked about indivisibility.
Is universality you've not spoken
Thank
about.
you very much. Universality. Universality. That's
Universality. Page 3.
what we look at. Yeah. So let me put on my slide. I don't know what happened. I'm very sorry. I don't know why I just scatter my slide like this. Yeah, universality. Challenges of universality. As in, you will see, I say cultural diversity as an example. You see, we say universality, that is, it is something applicable to everyone, irrespective of who you are. So far as you are a human being, it is applicable to you, right? But there is a problem with universality. Those people that codify human rights under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, they bring it with Western culture, not Asian culture, not Arab culture, or not Africa culture. They bring it with Western culture. So there is a question now. Some criticism comes in for universality of human rights. Listen, now, because value differ across society, what they value in Africa, it is different from what they value in the Arab country. It is different from what they value in Asia. It is different from what they value in Western world. Understand now? So now, you see, culture, the culture of people also undermine their human rights. Listen, those people that say culture affects human rights, they say that the human right reflects the current human right. It reflects the European way of life, like European lifestyle. Listen now, because it talks about the political way of European world, the secularism, the democracy, but they cannot be automatically imposed on non-Western society. Fundamental human rights, if you read everything, they believe that they were given to us by the Europeans with the European mindset. But it is argued that all of us on this art surface, we are not European, so you cannot impose your own way of life on us. Let me give an example with Nigeria. Something is happening in Nigeria, in the northern part of Nigeria. You know that there is something they call Sharia law, right? During Ramadan, I don't know whether it's Kaduna or Kano. I read it online. Some people were eating outside and they catch them, take them to Isba. I don't know what they call them. Is it Isba? Isba soldier? Is it? I don't know. Is it Kaduna or Kano? Whereby they catch some people eating outside.
It's Ishba. Kano.
It's Kano. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that Isba, they are operating under Sharia law, which is not the Western law. Listen, the Sharia law and the Western law, they have some places that they are not equal. There are some places they separate. You understand now? Now, imagine somebody eating in the afternoon of Ramadan, and you go and catch him, take him to your cell. You know, say automatically, if it's Western law, they have violated the person's rights. Automatically, they have violated the person's rights. You understand? But because those people that bring the human right, they bring it with the European mindset. They did not consider the culture of people. Then, automatically, which means that it is no more universality in some aspects. Understand? It is not more universality in some aspects. Even in Asia, there was time whereby they promoted Asian values. Understand? They promoted Asian value. Asian values that they emphasize on community harmony rather than individual autonomy. That is, you see, the Asian world, they believe that, okay, let us live together as a family. But the Western world now, the Western world, they believe that you can leave yourself when you are 18. Just leave your parents. You can leave alone. Listen. So what I want to infer is that sometimes the law of your village, of your maybe your community, can go against human rights. Although it will not go, although it's not necessarily that it go against the rights themselves, but it go against some, like the model of the universal human right, the model of the universal human right. Understand that? Because they did not put in culture. Understand? They did not insert culture of the people there. They just do it on the Western lifestyle. You understand now? They just do it on the Western lifestyle. You understand? So I give an example now. So in the example I gave from the northern part of Nigeria is a glaring example, and we have many examples like that also. Listen, we have many examples like that also. So if it happens like that, the question now remains: if human rights are culturally specific, that is, if the human rights of people, the culture is going to determine them, then can we truly call human rights universal? I don't know whether you understand this question. If human rights are culturally specific, that is, those in Nigeria, because of their culture, let us blend human rights to fit into their culture. Those in Europe, because of their culture, let us blend in human rights to fit in there. Then the question now remains that, are human rights universal? It's a question that we need to ask ourselves. That is where we challenge the universality of human rights. I don't know whether you understand me. If you don't understand me, let me know. So if you don't understand me, let me know. For number one challenge of universality. The number two challenge of universality: state sovereignty problem. State sovereignty problem. So under the United Nations Charter, under the United Nations Charter, it is believed that states are equal and are sovereign, right? This means that this means that sovereignty implies that non-interfering in domestic politics, that nobody should interfere in the politics of another country, territorial integrity, political independence. But there is still a problem. Because universal human rights of people require that there is international monitoring. That is, people outside your country can be monitoring how you are practicing human rights in your own country, which is violating the sovereignty of a country, because we say that nobody should interfere in the affairs of another man country. Then, if another man in his own country is monitoring how you are treating people in your own country, that means they are violating your sovereignty. Understand? External criticism. People from another country can criticize your country. Sometimes there is intervention. I give an example now: Iran. Understand? I give an example: Iran. You see, Iran, they brought a law recently that they are not, the law are not in favor of women, and this brought a lot of backlash on social media. People were just criticizing them. Understand? To the extent that America have to intervene also. But these laws that the husband can beat the wife anyhow, depending on, so the law was not in favor of women. It was only in favor of men. So if it happened like that, it's your country, and we say that your country has sovereignty, political integrity, non-interference. Nobody has interference in their own political affair. But because the human right, the universal human right require another person in another country, or the whole world, they should just be monitoring your own country. If any country in the world is violating human rights of people massively, and other countries in the world, they will serve as check and balance, as a watchdog to them. So we are not saying that, okay, sometimes they monitor you internationally, they criticize you, sometimes they can interfere in your political affair, right? Now, this human rights limit the state behavior. It limits the power of the state. Listen, human rights, it limits the power of the state. Listen. Because when international actors, when they criticize or sanction states for human rights violation, listen, government often respond by accusing them of political interference. I don't know what let me repeat it. When international actors, when they criticize a particular country or when they sanction that particular country for state for human rights violation, if people in the world they are criticizing a country for human rights violation, that particular country can accuse them for political violation or political interference. That is, they are putting their mouth in another man's country politics, which is, according to the law, it is wrong. Understand? It is wrong that nobody should interfere in another man's country politics. Understand? Now, if it happened like that, the question is that can human depend on sovereignty? Understand? Can human rights be universal if enforcement depends on sovereignty or sovereign state that may resist, they will not comply with the how do you call it? They will not comply with it. So now, can human rights be universal? Can our right be universal? If enforcing our right, it depends on our country. It's a question. It's a question that is debatable. So, why the next one we have? Please kindly mute yourself. Let me mute this person. Who is this? The person is no more here. This Karija, please. Let me mute the person. Please kindly mute yourself. So, in essence, this is the second one under the challenge of the indivisibility of human rights. That is, sometimes the state can be a problem to human rights itself. And I give the case of Iran. When they brought like a book of like law against females of women. The law was like it was last month or last month, February. So it is that is the state sometimes can go against the fundamental human right. But when the state go against fundamental human right, then we can ask ourselves, can human right be universal when it's like that? So that is it. Why the last one under the universality is selective enforcement. Selective enforcement, or we call it political power. Selective enforcement or political power or power politics. Now look at it from my slide. I said powerful state may criticize weaker nation. So in practice, human rights enforcement is uneven. That is, it is not equal. Sometimes it is not equal. It is not evenly distributed. Because the powerful one, they often criticize the weaker nations. Understand now? So they often criticize the weaker nation. Understand? And they also overlook abuses by strategic allies or allies. Understand? So when you see the powerful nation doing somewhere with the weaker nation, it becomes a problem. Understand? So, in essence, it is selective. What we are trying to say now, sometimes human rights can be selective in enforcement. So this leads to accusation that human rights are sometimes tools of foreign policies rather than a neutral moral principle. Listen, because the weaker nation sometimes, the weaker nation, they surrender themselves because they want to be friend with powerful nation, which makes the powerful nation to manipulate them or to criticize them. You see, today, Donald Trump is criticizing most African nations. He has done it with Somalia, he has done it with Nigeria, he has done it with Northern Africa countries also. Now he's in the East, in the Middle East. Understand? You can be selective. If you are ally with them, if you are by the time, even if you misbehave, they overlook you. Look,
Please, can anybody hear? Can't hear anything.
Same here. Oh.
I can hear you.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you
Yes.
now from my side, but we missed some seconds or did some.
I will repeat myself. Kindly mute yourself. So what we are saying is that the universality of human rights, it is selective sometimes. You understand now? Because powerful state, powerful country, they often criticize the small nations. Understand? And they also overlook abuse of power by strategic allies. I give an example of Israel. You see, Israel is causing atrocity in Palestine. But ask yourself, has the United Nations of America ever criticized Israel? I don't know whether I'm not reading news, but ask yourself, has the United States of America, have they ever criticized Israel for killing people in Palestine? No, because Israel is a strategic partner of USA. So they overlook it. Listen, but if it's another country that is doing what Israel is doing, America will not overlook it. So, which means that enforcement of human rights, the universality of human rights, sometimes can be selective. It becomes a tool of foreign policy. Sometimes it becomes a tool of foreign policy rather than a neutral moral principle. So, in essence, if enforcement of fundamental human rights is selective, if it's selective, right? The critics now argue that human rights lost the claim of equal application because we say that human rights, everybody, we are all equal before the law. But sometimes some country abuse power and nobody talks about it. Then we are asking ourselves, then if it's a selective, that means that we are not equal according to the law. You understand now? So these are three causes of fundamental human rights. Understand? Universality, indivisibility, and inalienability. They are the three causes. So in general, if you watch my first slide, which I sent to the group, there are six, but the three core are the principal core of human rights. Understand? So, question.
Sorry, Mr. Akanji,
Question,
please can you just
suggestion.
briefly mention the others? Not explain, just mention.
Who was in our class? Mr. John or Sunday Joseph? you are in my class. I want you to answer this question.
Mr. Akanji, this is John Donald.
Are you with me?
Yes, I am with you, but it's going to be
Mr.
hard for me
John?
because,
Okay, you want to answer the
yes, if you
question
can
now?
hear me, I'm actually driving at the moment.
Okay. Who will answer the question for her? Should I be the one to be talking alone? Mr. Joseph?
Of course, we're not.
What? So the core principle, I think no one can want to answer the question. We said universality, we said inalienability, we said indivisibility, right? These are the three core, right? But there is still another three. Listen, we have dignity, we have dignity, we have equality, and we have interdependence. Dignity, equality, and interdependence. I think I have a slide in my laptop. I don't know. What did I use to save the slides? I don't know what I used to say. So we have dignity, equality, and interdependence. So these also are part of it. So although some people argue that the dignity, the equality, and interdependence, some people argue that they are still under the three core principle that we mentioned. So now I want to check. Oh, sorry, I don't know what I pressed. My lab, I don't know what I pressed.